Glad to have you with us on another edition of the USF Football Radio Show. Bulls are on the road this week, heading to Philadelphia, Lincoln Financial Field to play the Temple Owls. Sam is back with us, Coach Jeff Scott, coming off the homecoming game against East Carolina. A tough evening in some ways, but one of the things that really stood out, I thought, was the play of your quarterback. You gave Jordan Mcleod the start. He wound up playing all the way through up to the last couple of minutes of the game, and it seemed like you were pleased with what you saw.
Yeah, ultimately we were disappointed, right? We lost the game, and that was our goal. And, for where we are right now as a program in this building process and this growth process, I think it's very important that, we find the things that need to be corrected and we address those. And then I think it's also important to find some of the small wins along the way and use it to encourage and to be able to get better. And, I did think that we threw the ball better in this game than we had in the previous three games. That's something we've been focusing a lot on in practice the last few weeks. And so, I was definitely pleased to see that. But, some of the other games we ran the ball better, right? And we're trying to get to that kind of complete execution performance on both sides of the ball, and then offensively both running and passing. But there was some positives with the way that we threw the ball, and hopefully we can build on that to ultimately get back to where we want to be.
Coach, on Saturday night, I saw some things in Jordan Mcleod I haven't seen from him, not only this season but just last year, and he brought another level of confidence to the game. What did you see in him on Saturday night that you probably didn't see during training camp or you didn't see in game 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, well, probably the biggest thing that I learned and really was able to see was his toughness. Going back and watching the game later that night, he stood in there with guys coming right down. We got to get some things cleaned up in our protection. He got hit more than we wanted him to get hit, but he really stood in there and delivered the ball when he knew that he was about to get hit. And he's staring right down at that linebacker that's coming to knock his head off, and he stood in there and threw the ball exactly where it needed to be. So that I learned something there, and you don't get that in practice because we don't hit the quarterbacks, and those are just things you see in the game. And there was also some times that he probably should have been sacked a couple more times, and he was able to get out of that and even be able to go throw the ball away and live for another day. I mean, I felt like he made some really good decisions, and he looked comfortable to me, and it didn't look like it was overwhelming him, and also felt like the wide receivers made some nice plays for him as well.
We were excited to see a lot of the original starting offensive linemen back. How difficult was that for them to come back after being out for a while, and there's maybe not the familiarity with the rest of the players on the line?
Well, ultimately we did not play well enough up front to win the game. I was disappointed in that. They were challenged. We knew this was going to be a big challenge. East Carolina, they pride themselves in blitzing, and typically they try to bring one more than you have to block. And, the mistakes that I saw on tape were more mental mistakes, missed assignments, misidentification. Now the way the game is played is, when the center's looking up, they're lined up in one defense. He puts his head down to look back for the snap, and they change the defense, and the ball gets snapped. And now we don't have the right linebacker identified, and now we have a chance for somebody. So is the communication between all of them really led to some of the TFLs and the sacks. And so, that group has a lot of pride. And up to this point, even with some of the starters out, that group's played pretty solid for our team. But, I know they're disappointed in the sacks that we gave up, the pressures we gave up. But that group's only going to get better and better. And I really think they have a chance to be one of the strengths of our team this year.
Coach, we talked about your quarterback on offense. Let's talk about your quarterback on defense. Antonio Greer playing in the middle linebacker spot. From experience, I know it's a challenge, right? One day you line up and you got this guy playing next to you. The next day this guy. Antonio, he played with probably about 3 or 4 different guys this season. Can you talk about what led to his productivity? I know you guys aren't happy with the overall outcome of the game, but talk about his productivity this past Saturday.
Yeah, I thought individually, I thought he played a really good game. He was our player of the week defensively, and he made a lot of tackles. And, he's a passionate player. It's important to him. I had a conversation with him this morning at practice that I got to get all that emotion that he has kind of, narrowed down just, during the plays. He's the kind of guy that he spends all of his energy in the first half just because he's 100 miles an hour during the play, after the play. He's yelling and screaming, trying to get guys lined up, and then he kind of runs out of juice, and hopefully we're going to get some linebackers back where he doesn't have to play every snap. I believe he played just about every snap Saturday, but, he's having a good year for us inside. We just, the way our defense is built, there's a lot of different responsibilities. They change based off what the offense does, and, unfortunately with some of the depth issues we're having at linebacker and in the secondary, we got a lot of different guys playing different spots in a new defense, and we knew that was going to be the case, and so there's no excuses. The big message for our team this week is alignment and assignment, right? And I really do feel our guys that they want to. It's important to them. If you were to come out and watch our guys practice this morning, you would think we're undefeated. I mean, they've got a good attitude. They're right back to work. I don't see guys hanging their heads. But bottom line, we're not executing on game day. And so when you go back and watch the tape, and you try to figure it out, of the things that we can control, the biggest thing is just the alignment and assignment. When you just have, one person on defense is in the wrong spot, it's a 20-yard gain, or it's a touchdown, right? Where offensively, you could have somebody at wideout that runs the wrong way, and they throw it to the other wideout, it's a touchdown, and everything's good. And defense is not built that way. And so, I think that, Greer is a bright spot for us right there. And, we're hopeful to get Dwayne back sometime soon and kind of settle in with what we can do on defense. Just disappointed overall defensively. I felt like Cincinnati, we really took a step forward. And unfortunately, this past week, we did not build off of that progress.
Offensively, a big game for Latrell Williams. Got himself open and caught everything in sight. Really looked impressive in this game.
Yeah, Latrell is a playmaker for us, and I was able to see in fall camp. He's a guy that can not only can he run fast, but he plays fast, right? And we've all been around guys sometimes that when you let them run the 40, they run fast, but they play slow. And he's a guy that is fast, and he plays fast. And so that really gained my attention. And, it's the first time seeing those guys. I think we had 6 explosive passes, which is the most we've had this year. So that's definitely a bright spot to build off of. And I think Latrell and Jordan, they're just going to continue to build confidence in each other as we move forward.
Because there were some things on special teams that didn't go so well, but you guys had 2 really good kickoff returns. Was it the blocking of the front line and the secondary line, or was that an individual effort by the returners?
Yeah, kickoff returns probably been our one bright spot so far. It's a combination, right? I think, we put Jaquez Evans back there this week, and he's a guy that's, showed up. He's been on a scout team a little bit offensively, but he's fast. Everything that he does, he plays fast. It's important to him. We wanted to give him a chance, and his second return, he had a really nice return and hit it. And Johnny Ford is just a weapon for us. It was kind of a cat and mouse game. They were calling their kick at the line of scrimmage, right there at the line, trying to kick it away from Johnny. We kept trying to switch up and move him around a little bit. So we trying to get the ball in his hands. But I think that group is getting more and more confidence. And for us, where we are, we've got to improve in the other staple special teams. And again, hey, it's not an excuse. It is what it is. We just got a lot of guys. Every week it's new guys doing new things. And, that's going to be how it is in 2020. I think ultimately that's going to pay off for us, hopefully towards the end of the year, that we have a lot of guys that have done different things, that have learned new experiences. And disappointed in the punt snap and dropping the punt there. Really felt like we were getting a chance to have some momentum going in halftime, maybe down 10 points or something, getting the ball opening up in the third quarter and second half. And, to give them such a cheap touchdown like that was really disappointing. And, you can't do those things and expect to win. So we'll continue to work on it and get better there.
The first USF offensive possession, we watched that unfold, and my thought was, boy, this is South Florida football. It was fast. It was crisp. It had to put a smile on your face.
Yeah, I think it was a glimpse for all of us, even the players in our team, to see what we can be. And I've been saying that, and I know some people may just think I'm crazy, but what I see in practice, we have the potential to have a really nice offense and to be explosive and do some things. And when we are playing fast and we know what to do and we're executing, right, that's what football is, a game of execution. And I really feel like that's kind of the last hurdle that we have to get over, is just consistency in our execution. But absolutely, we want to get off to a fast start, to be able to go down and score a touchdown. I really felt like we were in good shape, and we drove the ball. I think we had maybe close to 300 yards in the first half, and we just weren't consistent enough in the second half. Got into where we had to start throwing it a little bit more than we wanted to, and couldn't protect the quarterback as well as we wanted. But we've seen glimpses offensively this week, defensively at Cincinnati, of our potential and what we can be. And we just have to have a one-day focus, one-day mentality, and correct some of the mistakes that we continue to make, and hopefully we'll put it all together here soon.
Coach, we can get on here every week and talk about the wins and losses and the performance of different units on the team, but I'm curious to know, what are you enjoying most about this process and developing this team, and where you guys are at this current juncture in the season?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing has been how the guys have responded. If you would have told me before the year that after 4 games we were going to be 1-3, then I would have told you that it was going to be a lot of guys with their heads down and just complete lack of confidence, and really having to work on their attitudes and mindsets. There's nobody that's happy here, players or coaches, but I do believe that our players continue to believe. And the thing that tells me is, when we work all week and think that we're in a position, it's unfortunate. We had a really good week of practice last week. That's what's frustrating as a coach, right? As a coach, you always want to say how you practice is how you play, and by and large, that is the truth. But, for us, if you were to come out and watch us practice last week, you'd have thought we were going to win by 30 the way our guys, continue to work. But, you still have to execute on game day. And so probably the thing that I've enjoyed the most is, even during these difficult times, the way that our young men continue to show up every day, continue to believe that this will be the week that we break through, and to see our staff stick together and stay, So it's challenging. We knew there were going to be challenges. We're not done with that. We've got some more challenges ahead of us this year and in the future. But as long as our young men continue to show up, continue to give effort, continue to believe, then, it's only a matter of time before this stuff, really starts connecting and we're able to take off.
All right, stay with us. Another segment with Coach coming up. Bulls going to Temple for a Saturday game in Philadelphia. We'll continue after this on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. 12 noon game on Saturday at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. The Bulls and Temple. Our coverage will begin at 10 o'clock. This will be an ESPN Plus game on the TV side. Coach Jeff Scott with us. Coach, this has been a roller coaster ride in your first year as head coach, and no matter what's happening on the field in terms of wins and losses, there's always some things to work through, some things you have to deal with. What are your philosophies as a head coach on dealing with adversity?
Yeah, I think that a couple things. Number one is you have to take ownership, right? As the coach, as the leader, and as position coaches, hey, what we put on tape, that's us. That's our resume. And we could sit here all day long and come up with excuses why and all these type of things. But I think ultimately players and coaches have to take ownership. And then also, let's be honest about what we see. Let's just don't look at the score and make a judgment. But why were we not successful? Well, it's these 6 or 7 plays, All right, let's show them. All right, this had nothing to do with ability. This had executing, right? Knowing what to do and then being able to execute and to point those out and to learn from those and then to drill those and get it down to the kind of microscopic level of what we need to do. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, we have the 24-hour rule, right? Whether you win or lose, you got 24 hours to and I'm sick. 24 hours after, within those 24 hours, I mean, just literally as your own body, you're just sick. You can't eat, and it's not good. But you got to come out of it, and you got to treat, hey, the next week's the most important, right? We got the windshield mentality. Yeah, we're going to learn lessons from that. But, hey, we got 3 losses on our schedule. We have 6 games left on our schedule, right? And we're not going to be judged by how we played in the first 4 games. We're going to be judged by how we finish these next 6. And let's have a mentality. We're trying to go 1-0 this week and really putting everything, forward. I think that's the only way that you can do it. And I think, where we are in year 1 with all the challenges, it's going to be difficult pre-COVID, right, just with taking over the program and all the things. And COVID, those things haven't helped. And so I think the worst thing that you can do as a coach is to panic and just, treat everybody like we're not any good or something like that. And, it's kind of like throwing up, right? You make yourself feel better, but to everybody else it stinks, right? So we're not going to do that. We're going to address it. We're not going to live in a false reality. We see what the issues are, and then the issues that we can control, the things we can control, how do we specifically go about correcting that? How do we learn from the mistakes of the last game and not make them in the future? And I think as long as we'll continue to do that and keep our eyes down and continue to work, that, our time's coming. Our time's coming this season and definitely in the future.
Earlier in the segment, we talked about how some of the young guys that are getting the opportunity to play, how that might play out pretty well for you at the end of the season. Is there a young guy that's playing more than you guys had initially intended for him to play, that you're taking a look at his playing style now and comparing it to what you saw in camp and say, hey, maybe we might have missed out on this guy. Maybe he should have been a little bit higher on the depth chart?
Yeah, there's a couple of guys. Number one guy that stands out is Omarion Dollison, goes by OD, freshman receiver, came in mid-year. And, really his play on special teams, he was our special teams player of the week this week. I mean, he is full speed, and it's great because you can show the other players, like, hey, here's a freshman. He's running by all of you. So either he's that much faster than you or it's a little bit more important to him, right? He kind of gets everybody's attention when a true freshman's out there running past guys, making plays. But everything he does is full speed. And then also he's shown up. He had a nice catch this past week, and he plays fast. And he's a guy that we need to continue to get in the game and get reps and get opportunities. So he's probably the one young guy I think that has stepped up. I know Chris Townsend got hurt this past week and wasn't able to finish, but he was another guy that I feel like is kind of coming on in that respect. And then, the other one, maybe not a freshman, but, didn't really know about Johnny Ford, right? We didn't know if he's going to still be with us when the season started. And a lot of that was, his decisions off the field and kind of getting in line with the standards. But he's done, a really good job where he is right now. He's a guy that we got to continue to get the ball in his hands and can be a difference maker for this team.
We saw a little bit more of Darian Felix this last week. I know he's been fighting through some injuries. Is he starting to round into form? Because we know he's pretty special too.
Yeah, we haven't been able to see him 100% yet. I think he's still not back. He didn't look great the other night just running around. I think he's probably our best pass protector right now. So we got him in towards the end of the game when we knew we were throwing it. Just a little bit bigger body and has a good understanding. He's still battling some back and hamstring tightness. And so, hopefully we can get him back to be 100%. And I think he could be a really nice complement in that backfield to go with the other guys.
Coach, just taking a step back here, I mean, you go through training camp, limited practice, and just trying to really compensate for what's going on with COVID. You get into these first 4 games, working with multiple quarterbacks, working with multiple personnel guys. When you outline what your goals were from a schematic standpoint for this season, how much of your scheme or how much of your playbook do you feel like you've been effectively able to deploy at this point in the season? I'm asking this question because you look at a team like Eastern Carolina, a team that wants to blitz you all day. You think you'd see a lot more screen passes. I noticed that you guys got into maybe one or two that didn't work out pretty well. Is there more to see from a schematic standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for us, when you don't have this success, speaking offensively, when we haven't had the success in the first 3 games that maybe we want to, I think for me, you kind of go back to the basics, right? And you're just, it's the little things. It's running inside zone. It's throwing the hitches. It's, we got to do the little things right, and then we can build off of that. And I think the other challenge for us as coaches that I've kind of challenged our coordinators who are working extremely hard is, hey, let's find out what this group of players can do. I know what we want to do big picture, offensively and defensively, schematically, and those things. But, it's at some point you get into the season and you figure out, well, this is what this group can do well, and let's do that. And then we'll continue to develop and down the road recruit to some of these other things that we want to do. And so, I think for us, my challenge to Coach Weiss and the offensive staff was to keep it simple. Let's play fast. And, we just got to get some confidence. And I felt like, we were able to gain some confidence, even though we're disappointed with the overall result of the game and didn't finish a couple drives. To have whatever that was, 300 yards at half, we showed some signs of what we can be. And I think as we move forward, we'll be able to build. But I think the worst thing that you could do as a coach when you're not having success is think that it's just more plays. All right, there's no magic plays that just change a team that's not very not executing well to all of a sudden they start executing well because you draw up a bunch of plays. Like we got plenty of plays, but it's really about, what can your guys execute? And, you want to build that foundation and then kind of build on that. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Temple this week, and probably another reminder how fortunate we are to have played 4 games. Temple got on the field for the first time on Saturday, played a tough game with Navy. They've kind of made their reputation over the years and physicality, big and strong and tough, and I'm sure that's their mindset again this year. What do you see from them?
Yeah, exactly what you said. It reminds me a lot of Boston College, being at Clemson, playing Boston College every year. They're going to have big linemen. They're going to be a physical team that's going to drive off the ball and try to knock you backwards, right? And it starts with that mindset, a physical mindset. And, that was something I was disappointed with on defense this past week is, we didn't play physical enough. And part of that goes back to knowing what to do. And when you're a little bit indecisive on, am I supposed to feel here? Am I supposed to feel here? That indecision can allow you not to play as physical and fast. And so, for us this week, we've got to know what to do, and then we've got to play fast and physical because this group's going to challenge us. They're going to come right at us. And, we need a little bit more of the Cincinnati performance than what we had this past week against East Carolina because this is a physical and good football team.
Coach, you look at Temple, you look at their personnel, and you understand what their mindset is. Is this a team, right, without giving away too much, that you feel you can really test on the perimeter, whether it's the outside runs or just making their guys use the whole you guys using the whole field and making their guys play you on the whole field?
Yeah, it's a little difficult to know right now, to be honest, because they played one game. And, our defense can get more from that game than our offense can because playing Navy with Navy running the triple option, the video really doesn't help us offensively because we don't get to see them line up to traditional sets. So we have to go off of last year's video. They have a lot of new players this year, so we'll watch offensively, we'll watch the Navy video to see the athleticism, the size, some of their strengths, some of their weaknesses. But, it'll be, the first time when we get out there to kind of really see how they're going to play our sets and what their strengths are. But, I think for us, obviously, we're going to look schematically for some advantages to do some things. But, we're really at that point offensively and even defensively where we got to focus on us. We got to focus on, executing, what we're doing on our side. And then we as coaches have to do a good job of putting our guys schematically in a position to have success.
Coach, thanks. Have a great trip to Philadelphia.
All right, thank you.
Bulls and Temple this weekend. Don't forget the next home game for USF is a Friday nighter, October 23rd against Tulsa. Tickets through 1-800-GO-BULLS or USFBullsTix.com. Tight ends coach Joey King coming up. Mitchell Brinkman, too, when we return on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back. It's a 12 noon game on Saturday, Lincoln Financial Field, the Bulls and the Temple Owls. Tight ends coach Joey King joins us. Coach, thanks for taking some time.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Thank
you.
You
settled in? Been a couple of months, but it was a whirlwind at the beginning, was it not?
It was, and it still is at times, just with the situation. But we are settled in. My family's here. We love Tampa and love the guys that we get to coach, and thankful to be a Bull.
Coach, prior to you getting here to Tampa, or prior to you embarking on your coaching career, what was home for you?
Home is Cedartown, Georgia, little town in northwest Georgia, which is where my accent comes from, right?
Okay,
so,
I had to know.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. But, yeah, Cedartown, Georgia was there, and then went on to play college ball at Carson Newman in East Tennessee for Coach Ken Sparks.
Made the accent even worse.
It did. And I married an East Tennessee girl, so it definitely made it worse.
Okay.
Well, your coaching career, high school coach, I can't remember the quarterback. Do you have anybody good there?
Yeah, I had a few good ones. But Trevor Lawrence, Trevor played for me and was a really good player, really good teammate. Fun to coach for sure.
What was that like for you? Because you were a quarterback in your playing days, to have somebody that was clearly that special.
Oh, it was good. Just to see how it transitioned too. That's a neat story in and of itself. We actually, when I took the job there, I had a rising junior. It was about 6'5", 190 pounds. Rivals had him as like the number 21 quarterback in the country, and then we had this long, gangly 8th grader that was a rising 9th grader. So about the 4th game of the season, Trevor took over the starting quarterback's job, and we decided to move the other kid to tight end. Coincidence, we're coaching tight ends now, so we moved him to tight end, and he's playing tight end. He's a starting tight end at Alabama right now. So it worked out pretty good for everybody involved.
So it didn't sound like you guys had personnel issues.
No, no, we had some good players.
Awesome. I mean, being a linebacker right at heart, I think I'm a running back too at times, but you go against tight ends every day, right? I just feel like the position has evolved so much over the past 5, 10, 15 years. You look at the typical tight end, right, his physical makeup, and it's changed. You see guys that are a little skinnier, a lot more speed. What's your opinion on the position and those guys' effectiveness in giving an offense more weapons to use?
Yeah, anytime you can, and from being a linebacker, anytime you can get out of offensive sets without changing personnel, you're able to play really, really fast. And the defense can't necessarily dictate what you're going to do by your personnel group. And, so we look for those guys that are kind of jack of all trades, that can be a receiver, that can be a run blocker, that can pass protect, that can learn it all. So our guys have to know a lot of stuff. But just seeing that position evolve is pretty good. And the guys that can do all of those things well are making a lot of money in the NFL.
They are.
So we've got a really good group here, and I'm glad to coach those guys for sure.
What's that coaching transition like, high school to college? I think about, how much different a young man is going to be while he's in high school compared to a few years later when he's in college. Does it become a dramatically different job, or is football football?
I always say X's and O's are X's and O's. There's a little bit more detail, a little bit more involvement. From a coaching standpoint, though, the kids are obviously a little bit more mature when you get them. So that at the high school level, you're getting them straight from the 8th grade. So that maturation process, you get to really, really be a part of that here. The guys are pretty focused when they get in. You just got to give them some direction. But I said, from going from a high school head coach to a college assistant coach, the biggest difference for me was I went from making decisions to suggestions. But it's been a good transition.
Now that you're on the other side now, from high school, and you were prepping your guys to go into college, what do you think is the most important component for a guy who's transitioning to the college level?
Oh, man, just guys that have a good knowledge of the game coming in are so much further ahead. So when you're recruiting, and Florida does a great job, the state of Georgia did a great job, you're looking at these programs that you're recruiting these kids from, and the more knowledge of the game that they have coming into it, the further ahead they can be when they sit in your position meeting room day one. So guys that have a really, really good foundation come out of high school a little bit ahead of those that still have a lot of learning to do. So that's a big key.
How did this USF job come together? I'm guessing Trevor Lawrence is part of the common ground.
Sure, yeah. No, 2 years ago, I guess, I wasn't looking to get into college ball, and Jamie Chadwell offered me a job at Coastal. Talked with my wife and decided to make that jump. When I did that, I was recruiting. I was actually in the upstate of South Carolina, and I went by and watched Clemson practice as they were getting ready for the ACC championship game, getting ready to play Virginia. And Jeff came up to me and kind of told me about some things that were going on. He said an opportunity may be there to where I could hire you on my staff. Would you be interested? And I told him yes, and then really didn't think anything else of it. You know, I'm going on recruiting, doing my normal thing, and then the opportunity presented itself, and I jumped on it. You know, was excited to come down here, believe in everything that he stands for and what he's going to do with this program, and my family and I are both really, really excited to be here.
I know the city has been shut down for the majority of the time that you've been here, but is there something that the city of Tampa has to offer that you and your family has had the opportunity to enjoy, that you're now happy you're in Tampa and you can enjoy it around the year?
We're definitely happy to be here. The first thing when we got here, I guess it was, the 1st of January. So the weather obviously was amazing at that time. I've got a buddy of mine that's in Philly, as a matter of fact, and he sent me a screenshot of their weather today, and it was like 50 degrees and rainy, So I sent him a screenshot of ours, to rub it in his face a little bit. But the weather, obviously, just all of the attractions, the excitement about sports in this area was one of the things that I was really, really looking, forward to coming and being part of, whether it be the boats, right, the Rays, all these sports teams, and just the excitement that's in this city for sports in general.
Tell us a little bit about this group of tight ends at USF, keeping in mind that Mitchell Brinkman is sitting right with us, waiting for his segment.
Right.
So we're gonna trust you to say the right thing.
For sure. No, they're a very talented bunch of a group that's extremely fun to coach. We have a family dynamic in there. Matter of fact, that's what we break it down on every day is family. I ask them what their job is, and they say it's to love each other. And then I say, what's mine? And they say it's to love us. And then we break it down on family love. So that's something that we really take pride in that room. And really and truly, it's a blue-collar group of guys. We put our hard hat on and come to work every day. Those guys are expected to know a lot with what we do offensively. And there are no divas in that room. They come to work every single day.
Awesome. I mean, you take a look at that room and you take a look at what you see across college football, and I do have to agree, you have guys that can do it all. From a pass game perspective, do you guys spend time watching receivers and seeing the things that receivers do to make sure they create separation or get open? Or although a tight end's job is to catch balls, is it different? Do you guys ask them to use a different type of separation technique or using their physicality more as opposed to receivers do on the outside? Yeah,
we all obviously want them to be well-developed route runners, so we do a lot of drills. I was a receivers coach at the school that I came from, right? So we do a lot of drills, and we're really emphasizing route running and technique and, keeping a low hat, break points, 90-degree cuts, 45-degree cuts. We work all of that. Some of the stuff underneath that we work a little bit, we body people up a little bit more because as a receiver, obviously you're not quite as big, so we'll work some box out, getting in and out, teaching those guys how to use their big bodies as an advantage, especially on defensive backs.
What lessons have you learned coaching through COVID?
Oh, my goodness. To be ready to adapt is probably the number one thing that probably anybody on our staff will tell you. You have to be adaptable during this time because something can change at the drop of a hat, and I think that's a sign of really, really good leadership is being able to do that and still keep your focus. And I think Coach Scott and the rest of the guys on our staff have done a good job with these guys. And then, too, you're looking at coaching 18 to 22-year-old, young men. They have to be able to do that as well. And I really believe our guys have handled that extremely well.
I always like to hear a perspective from an offensive coach on a defensive guy on the team. Is there a guy, whether it's a defensive back, defensive lineman, linebacker, that he brings it every day and he helps make your guys better?
Yeah, from a linebacker standpoint, Greer flies around like crazy out there. That's one of the things that stuck out to me in the And the scrimmage that we had in the fall was how fast and how much he flew around. And then you look at him on Saturdays, and he's doing the same thing. Really flies around and makes a lot of plays.
Is it because he's from Georgia?
Maybe that may have a little something to do with it, right down the road at Mays High, But no, he does a really good job and brings a lot of energy out there. So I would say him, just from a standpoint of you have to be focused and dialed in, or he'll knock you on your tail,
Well, Coach, have a great trip up to Temple.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time for us. Glad
Absolutely.
you're on the staff. Fun to talk to you.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Tight ends coach Joey King, and one of his guys is next. Mitchell Brinkman, first-year Bull, will join us when we return on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back, Bulls in Temple. Saturday at noon, our coverage starts at 10 a.m. for the Bulls and the Owls. First-year Bull, tight end Mitchell Brinkman joins us. Thanks for taking time. You come to us from Northern Illinois. My memory of Northern Illinois from a game about 20 years ago when the Bulls went up there and played. We're in the broadcast booth, Sam's predecessor, Mark Robinson, and I, and somebody from Northern Illinois busts in the booth and says, "The corn is ready." And Mark and I kind of looked at each other, and it turns out it was the annual corn boil game. And we debated whether it was worth it to go out of the booth, down the elevator to get the corn at the corn boil, and we finally did, and it was the best we ever had. So that's my Northern Illinois story. You are out there in DeKalb in the middle of the cornfields. It's kind of a different atmosphere than Tampa.
Yes, sir. Completely different than Tampa. Definitely.
Well, you've made the adjustment pretty well, but you've got a unique situation coming up this week because you're going to Temple, and there is Coach Carey, who came from Northern Illinois, and you were seriously considering continuing on with him.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect and love for that coaching staff out there. They gave me my first FBS offer, and Coach Carey really believed in me, and that was the hardest phone call I made after I made my decision to commit to South Florida, was that call up there to him.
Is it because you got tired of the weather? I mean, you grew up in Nebraska. We don't even need to talk about the weather there. You spent some time in Illinois, and I'm very familiar with the climate there, especially in the winter. And they really don't get a spring, right? But now you got an opportunity to come here and compete for a starting spot in the sunny state of Florida.
Yeah.
What helped you make that decision? Leave the weather part out. I know that.
Yeah, no, the weather was obviously a big decision, but just talking with Coach Scott and Coach Weiss and Coach King from the recruiting aspect, it made my decision clear. I have aspirations to be an athletic director after my playing career is done, and I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Kelly throughout the recruiting process, and it was just very clear that this was the best decision for me.
Transfer rules have changed so much. I mean, in the past, a one-year graduate transfer, that wasn't an opportunity for a lot of guys. Now it is. So you come here knowing you got 1 year. Does that create a little bit of a sense of urgency to get some things done and achieve some personal goals?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it amped it up a little bit more considering I committed in May rather than having the whole spring semester here. But no, just the summer, mostly I was concerned with is getting to know my teammates and the coaching staff. Everything was virtual. I didn't have the opportunity to take a visit here. But it was clear when I got here, I was welcomed with open arms from everybody. And, the coaching staff, Coach True, the strength staff, they did a great job over the summer getting me acclimated to the Florida heat because that was an adjustment that I needed to make. But, overall, it's been a great experience, and I've enjoyed my time here.
Is it how much are you appreciating having the opportunity? Because guys do transfer, but not a lot of guys actually transfer and find success. Some guys do, but there's a lot of guys that don't. Are you happy to have had a great year in your last year at Northern Illinois, and now you come and you're the number one guy at tight end? How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels great. In the recruiting process, the coaching staff said I would have an opportunity to, win the starting job and that nothing was guaranteed. And that's all I needed to hear. I love coming to work. Coach King said it, we're blue-collar guys. We love coming to work every day. And, I told myself that I want to play at the next level. At the end of the day, I'm going to have to, win a starting job somewhere. I might as well make it my last year in the college level.
So with your goal of being a college administrator, what kind of information did you try to get out of Michael Kelly? That's a pretty high-profile guy to learn from.
Yeah, so it was huge when he went over his background and kind of his career and the steps it took for him to get here. It was clear he has a lot of experience, a lot of networking and connections that, I want to be a part of and get to know him more and kind of his day-to-day operations and, the behind the scenes of how, football activities work.
Now, you're in the city of Tampa. Have you started to look at opportunities? You have a great playing style. You'll probably have a great opportunity to play at the next level. But you don't just turn into a college administrator as soon as you graduate. What are you looking forward to doing from a career standpoint before you get there, with the understanding that you'll need to gain more knowledge?
Yeah, definitely. So, I've talked with Mr. Kelly, after my playing career about the opportunity for like interning under him and just getting that experience and that opportunity. So, that's kind of my next step. And with this COVID and everything, there's a chance that you can have another year of eligibility, so I could come back for my 6th year. And, just the opportunities that present itself, but it's going to be, a decision that I'll have to make after the year.
This is a real season of transition for this program with the new coaching staff and some new personnel and trying to iron some things out at the quarterback position. So you've had a lot of different guys throwing to you, not only in practice but in the games as well. Does that create an adjustment? I mean, does the ball come in different from different guys, or is it just see the ball, catch the ball?
I will say every quarterback kind of has their strengths and weaknesses, but, we've worked together with, all of them so much since the summer that it's really second nature when it comes to whoever's back there. All 4 of them have done a great job, being a leader and controlling the offense. And, I have confidence in whoever's behind center that we're going to be successful.
You play with you play with the guys at Northern Illinois. Now you're here. And you don't have to talk too much about it, but how much more, if at all, right, more competitive is this roster than it was playing at Northern Illinois?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot more competitive. The biggest thing that I noticed is the speed. In being in Florida, I was told, from some friends at other, universities, they're like, hey, that Florida speed. And I was like, it's not going to be that different. Like, we've got guys who can fly, and it's a testament to them and the strength staff that, Coach True does a great job with. But, yeah, the speed is definitely something that, brings that competitive nature out in practices and workouts and stuff like that.
You come in as a veteran guy with a lot of football behind you, but you're a new guy. From a leadership standpoint, how do you have to handle that? Because you're a guy that has been around, knows the game, knows how to play, but you're just getting your feet wet here in Tampa.
Yeah, so it was challenging at first. Everything was virtually, so I would call Coach King, 2 to 3 times a week, and we would go over the offensive, the playbook and stuff like that. And so I wanted to come in, having more knowledge than anybody on the roster. And that was the way I was going to lead, is by, keeping everybody in check and making sure they knew their responsibilities, just to kind of prove myself to my teammates that, I'm here for a reason, to make this team better. And, so that was probably the biggest aspect that I wanted to, implement coming here. And then when I got here, just the relationship and just getting to know the guys and them getting to know me as well was huge in the process.
What guy on the team do you spend the most time with? I mean, I know you probably have a girlfriend here on campus by now, but what guy do you spend the most time on the team with, and why?
So I spend the most time with Jacob Mathis, number 85, the other tight end, in our room. And he reached out to me when I first committed, and he was actually the first teammate that I talked to. Granted, it was over text, and, that was the extent of it, but he's been a great resource for me in kind of getting acclimated to Tampa. He's from Tampa, so he knows all the great restaurants for sure. So that helps too. But, we have a great relationship, and we get along really well, and we kind of, check and balance each other on the field and with the game plan for sure.
Well, Mitchell, you're a great addition to the team. Thanks for taking time for us today. Have a good one Saturday in Philadelphia.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Tight end Mitchell Brinkman, stay with us. Sam and I back to wrap it up after this on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back. The Bulls on their way to Philadelphia later in the week to play the Temple Owls back home on Friday the 23rd against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Sam, this will be a challenge in Philadelphia. I just think about those knockdown, drag-out games the Bulls and Owls have had in the past. It's going to be physical, and the Bulls are really going to have to fight in this one.
I think it'll be a really physical game. But I think more than anything, the thing that stands out to me about this team is the morale. Obviously, 1-3 is not where Coach Scott wanted to start, but every player I've come across, they're still happy to be a part of this. They're still, and you heard them say it, you would have thought they would have won by 30 last week because of the way they practiced. So that's always an indication that the program is going in the right direction. And it's not always about wins and losses. I mean, you can have a program that's winning a ton of games and all the guys on the roster hate each other. So with Coach Scott just joining this program, and you talk about it being the year to build the foundation, you build the foundation on togetherness. And I'm enjoying hearing him talk emphatically about his team. I'm enjoying him having the confidence that they'll continue to get better, because not every coach has that confidence in a young team.
And what you'll look for in terms of progress is all the phases of the game coming together. You know, we saw some nice things offensively last week. We saw some nice things defensively 2 weeks ago. Just got to have it all come together in one day.
I agree, and it's not always easy to get that done, specifically because people don't realize how many players on offense or defense are used on special teams. So when you see offense being tested in a certain way where they got a lot of guys out, now you got to take some of your key special teams guys and put them on offense, and now you're seeing really incompetent special teams play. So it's it could be either week, right? It could be any week. It could be this week where they just put a full game together. And I think you're just going to see a lot of happy people when it gets done, because the work is being put in and it takes time. Like Coach said, you have a great week of practice and you think you can go get it done, and you don't. Well, when they actually do get it done, I know it's going to be a really good feeling for the team.
The journey continues at Lincoln Financial Field. Hope you'll join us on the radio side beginning at 10 o'clock, kickoff at 12, and then a big Friday nighter at home on October 23rd against Tulsa. Thanks for joining us on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon.